Lena Hartwell gasped as the tires screeched behind her, the sudden roar slicing through the quiet parking lot. She turned just in time to see the black SUV accelerating toward the puddle near her feet. Before she could step back, muddy water exploded upward, drenching her dress, her shopping bags, and the curve of her 5-month pregnant belly. She froze, stunned, trembling as cold water trickled down her skin. The driver's window rolled down. Daniel Cross leaned out with a smirk that tightened her chest like a fist. "Oh, look," he drawled, "the miracle mother herself." Beside him, Riley, his mistress, the woman he'd chosen over her, burst into laughter. "That dress was ugly anyway," Riley said. "At least now it matches her life." Lena clutched her belly protectively. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. The humiliation hit her so hard it felt like a physical blow. But before she could speak, before she could defend herself, Daniel's voice sliced through her again. "Relax, Lena. Don't want you losing this one too," he said, and her heart felt like it stopped. "Unless you're planning to blame me again for the next tragedy." The words burned. They always had. They always would. A stranger's voice in the distance shouted, "Hey man, what's wrong with you?" Phones were recording. People were staring. But all Lena saw was the monster she once married, looming larger than life, reminding her of everything she had escaped and everything she still feared. Daniel shrugged, pretending innocence. "Just telling the truth. Some women shouldn't be mothers." Lena's voice cracked when she finally managed to speak. "Leave me alone, Daniel." "Oh, she speaks," Riley mocked. "Thought you only cried these days." The SUV sped off, leaving her trembling and soaked. The baby kicked, a strong thump beneath her palm, and that tiny movement grounded her. She inhaled shakily and whispered, "I'm okay. Mommy's okay." But she wasn't. Not entirely. Not after surviving 6 years with Daniel. Not after losing her child, Hope. Not after the divorce that almost broke her. And definitely not after being humiliated in public like this, while carrying a child she'd thought she'd never have. And yet, she wasn't the same fragile woman he used to control. Because now, she wasn't alone. By the time she got home, Ethan Vale was pacing the living room, worry etched across his face. He rushed to her the moment he saw her clothes. "Lena, what happened? Are you hurt? Is the baby okay?" His panic wasn't loud or aggressive. It was urgent, heartfelt. Completely opposite of Daniel. She tried to smile. "We're okay." Ethan's eyes softened, but anger flickered beneath them. "Who did this?" She hesitated. She hated dragging her past into her present. Hated letting Daniel live rent-free in her peace. But Ethan stepped closer, cupping her face gently. "Lena, please tell me." "It was Daniel," she whispered. "And Riley." Ethan inhaled sharply, jaw tightening. "He splashed mud on you? On the baby?" She nodded. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deliberately, fighting for calm. When he opened them, his voice was low but steady. "He has crossed a line." She rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Safe. Warm. Nothing like the cold silence she used to fall asleep next to Daniel. "I don't want trouble," she murmured. "You're not causing trouble," Ethan said. "He is." As he held her, memories she'd tried to bury clawed their way back to her marriage to Daniel, the slow destruction of her self-worth, the night she lost her baby, the night he blamed her, the night he screamed that she was defective, worthless, not woman enough. Ethan whispered, "You don't ever have to face him alone again." And she believed him. But as she changed clothes and warmed up, the viral clip was already spreading across Brookhaven City. Strangers were commenting, outraged. Former employees of Daniel's company were speaking up. And Ethan's father, Maxim Vale, had already been informed. Lena didn't know that yet. Her mind drifted back 6 years, before everything collapsed. She remembered the excitement of being 22 and in love with a man who seemed charming, successful, attentive. Daniel Cross had swept her off her feet with promises of a loving life. For the first year, he kept those promises. But somewhere between the first anniversary and the second, the charm cracked. "Why do you wear that?" he'd ask. "You look desperate for attention. Why do you talk to your friends so much? You think your job matters more than mine? You're lucky I chose you, Lena. Don't forget that." When she became pregnant with Hope, she thought everything would change. She thought the baby would make him kinder, softer. But the day she lost Hope, the day she bled, cried, and begged God not to take her child, Daniel didn't even hold her hand. His first words were, "You couldn't even do this right." The memory stabbed at her until Ethan's gentle voice brought her back. "Dinner's almost ready. I made the soup you like." She blinked away the pain and forced a smile for him. "Thank you." Later that night, Ethan received a message. A video link. His expression hardened instantly. Lena noticed. "What's wrong?" He looked at her, torn between honesty and wanting to shield her. "Someone recorded the parking lot incident. It's everywhere." Her stomach dropped. "Ethan, it's not your fault," he said firmly. "You didn't do anything wrong. But people will talk." "Let them talk," he said. "They'll see who the real monster is." As he stepped aside to take a call, she overheard him say, "Yes, Dad. I saw the video. No, this isn't going unanswered." Lena exhaled shakily. A part of her feared escalation, but another part, a part that had been silenced for years, wanted justice. Ethan returned to her, pulling her into a warm embrace. "Lena, whatever happens next, I'm here." For the first time in years, she felt power not because of Ethan's wealth, not because of the Vale family's influence, but because she finally had people who cared. People who wouldn't let Daniel destroy her again. And the world was about to prove it. By the next morning, the clip had exploded across social media. Lena tried not to look, but she could hear the chimes of notifications on her phone, one after another, like drumbeats in her chest. People were outraged. Strangers were calling Daniel every name in the book. Some were even praising her for remaining composed. It was surreal, almost unreal, that something so public could turn in her favor. Ethan sat beside her on the couch, scrolling through comments. "Look at this," he said softly. "They're calling him out for what he is. Not you, Lena. Him." She leaned against him, letting the warmth soak through the lingering cold of the morning. "It's strange," she admitted, "to feel vindicated without even doing anything." "You did more than he ever could," Ethan said, gripping her hand. "You survived him. You built yourself back up. You found love again. That's the real victory." The first messages started arriving from news outlets, requesting statements. Lena's heart pounded in her chest. The woman she had been, the scared, trembling Lena, would have run away. Hid. Tried to erase the memory. But she was not that woman anymore. "I can't," she whispered. "I can't even look at the camera." "You won't have to," Ethan reassured her. "We'll do this together." Just a few words. Simple. True. Honest. And so they went live on social media. Lena's voice was steady, trembling only slightly. I am a mother. I am a survivor. This incident is not about me, but about the choices of someone who refuses to respect others. I ask that you do not attack or threaten anyone. But please, hold abusers accountable. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. But people listened. And more importantly, they believed her. Across town, Daniel watched the video for the third time. His face was pale, his hands gripping the edge of the desk so tightly his knuckles had turned white. He couldn't comprehend it. How had it gone so wrong? All he had done was show the world the truth. He hadn't expected backlash. He hadn't considered Lena's strength. And now his empire was shaking. Max, I need those contracts renewed. He snapped at his assistant Riley, who shifted nervously in the corner. This is ridiculous. People are overreacting. She's just. Riley's eyes flicked toward him, an edge of satisfaction he hadn't seen before. She's pregnant, Daniel. And the city sees it. They see her calm, dignified, and you, splashing mud. You don't look like a CEO. You look pathetic. He clenched his fists. Do something. Fix this. She shook her head. I can't. Not this time. The irony wasn't lost on Daniel. Riley, who had been his ally in humiliation, now reminded him of the very thing he couldn't undo. The public scorn was unstoppable. Meanwhile, Lena and Ethan were driving to a prenatal appointment. Lena was quiet, absorbing the surreal sensation that the world was finally seeing the real Daniel. Ethan reached over, brushing mud specks from her sleeve. You okay? He asked softly. She took a deep breath, looking out the window at the sun reflecting off the wet pavement. I feel free, she admitted. It's like I can finally breathe without fearing every glance, every whisper. He smiled, resting his hand on her belly. No one will ever make you feel small again. Ever. Her lips curved into a small smile. Not even him, she asked, teasing lightly despite the underlying tension. Not even him, Ethan replied firmly. That evening, news channels picked up the viral clip, turning it into a full-blown scandal. Analysts dissected Daniel's behavior, politicians condemned it, and social media erupted with outrage. Lena had become a symbol overnight, not because she sought fame, but because people could see the stark contrast between abuse and dignity, cruelty and resilience. Daniel's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Every call, every email, every demand was a reminder that his world was crumbling. Investors withdrew, contracts were canceled, and lawsuits began piling up. Riley watched with a smug satisfaction. You finally understand, Daniel, she said quietly. Everything you thought was untouchable is gone. He turned on her, rage boiling. You were supposed to help me. You were supposed to. I helped you enough, she said, cold and detached. I don't work for someone who can't even respect the people around him. Meanwhile, Lena was at home with Ethan, enjoying a rare evening of quiet. She hummed softly while organizing the nursery, her hands brushing the tiny clothes she had bought for Noah. Ethan watched her, mesmerized. You know, he said, I've never seen anyone handle everything with such grace. You're incredible. She laughed softly, a genuine sound she hadn't heard in years. I learned from experience, she said, almost whispering. I learned what I don't want, and I learned what I deserve. You deserve so much, he said, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. And you're going to have it. The next day, Lena received a call from Maxim Vale. His voice was calm, powerful yet protective. "Lena, the family wants to make a public announcement," he said. "Your pregnancy, your dignity. We want to make sure the city knows who you are and what's being done." Her stomach fluttered not from nerves, but from a deep, warm gratitude. For years, she had feared being powerless. Now, she was supported by a family that would protect her and a man who would never let her face cruelty alone. "Yes," she said, voice steady. "Do it." That evening, the press conference went live. Maxim Vale, flanked by Ethan and Lena, addressed the city. "Lena Hartwell Vale is not only carrying the next generation of our family, but represents courage, dignity, and resilience. Any attempts to humiliate or intimidate her will not be tolerated." Lena felt her cheeks flush, not from embarrassment, but from the powerful sense of justice washing over her. Cameras flashed. Phones recorded. The world watched, and Daniel's empire crumbled further with every word. Back in his office, Daniel stared at the televised announcement, his face pale, fury mingling with disbelief. Riley stood behind him, silent now. The realization hit him with a weight he had never experienced. Lena was untouchable. His attempts to dominate and humiliate her had backfired spectacularly, leaving him exposed, mocked, and powerless. Meanwhile, Lena returned home, exhausted but elated. Ethan guided her to the couch, wrapping her in his arms. "You did it," he said softly. "You faced him without fear." She rested her head on his shoulder. "We did it," she corrected, a quiet smile forming. "Together." And for the first time in years, Lena allowed herself to feel it fully: hope, safety, and the sweet taste of triumph over cruelty. The baby kicked again, strong and insistent, reminding her of what truly mattered. She whispered, "We're going to be okay, little one. Mommy's not scared anymore." Ethan pressed a kiss to her temple. "We'll be more than okay. You'll see." Weeks passed, and the fallout from the viral incident showed no signs of slowing. Lena's life had transformed almost overnight, though she tried to maintain a sense of normalcy. Every morning, she would wake to sunlight streaming through the nursery window and the soft hum of the city beyond. The shadow of Daniel's cruelty had faded, replaced by the warmth of her growing family and the steadfast love of Ethan. Yet Daniel wasn't finished. He called incessantly, leaving voicemails dripping with venom and frustration. "You think you can humiliate me and walk away?" One message hissed. "You're going to regret this. I swear it." Lena heard them but didn't respond. She had spent years feeding his rage with silence, and she would do so again, except now. The silence was her shield, not her fear. Ethan, however, refused to let her face it alone. One evening, as she sat on the couch scrolling through the latest articles dissecting Daniel's downfall, he wrapped his arm around her. "You don't have to carry this alone, Lena," he said gently. "Ever again." She looked up, tears brimming. "I know. It's just exhausting. Seeing how far he'll go, knowing he's trying to ruin lives the way he ruined mine." "You're not the Lena he left behind," Ethan replied firmly. "You're stronger. You survived him. And he's nothing now. Nothing." The next public appearance was a charity gala hosted by Vale International. Lena hesitated before stepping out in front of the cameras, her dress flowing and her posture regal. But the moment she saw Ethan, the nerves melted. He squeezed her hand, whispering, "You're brilliant. You've earned this moment." They approached the stage, and the crowd erupted in applause. Lena's voice trembled only slightly as she spoke. I am proud to be part of an organization that empowers women, supports children, and fosters resilience. My own journey has shown me the importance of standing tall, even when the world tries to knock you down. Thank you for believing in strength, kindness, and justice." The applause thundered louder, and Lena felt a thrill she had never known 6 years ago when Daniel had called her barren and worthless. Daniel, on the other hand, watched the gala from the corner of a dimly lit office, nursing his bitterness. His empire was crumbling, investors pulling out, contracts canceled, his own employees avoiding him. Riley had left for good, her parting words sharp and unforgettable. "You'll never have what she has: love, dignity, respect. You threw it all away." Daniel slammed his fist against the desk. "This isn't over," he shouted at the empty room, but no one answered. No one cared anymore. Back in the Vale mansion, Lena and Ethan returned home, the weight of the evening replaced with quiet intimacy. Lena's hand rested protectively on her belly as they sat by the fireplace. "I still can't believe it," she whispered. "I thought I'd never have this peace." "You've earned it," Ethan said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Every bit of it. And we're going to protect it together." Days later, Daniel made one last desperate attempt. He confronted Lena outside her favorite cafe, approaching with arrogance that masked his fear. Lena stood with Ethan at her side, the baby bump visible beneath her coat. "You," Daniel spat, his voice venomous. "You think you've won? You think you're untouchable?" Lena's voice was calm, almost serene. "I think I finally understand what matters. You aren't part of it anymore." Ethan stepped forward. "Stay back, Daniel. You don't get to touch her, speak to her, or intimidate her. Not now. Not ever." Daniel sneered, glancing around at the gathering crowd and the smartphones recording every word. "You'll see. You'll regret this. I'll..." But before he could finish, Maxim Vale appeared. Tall, commanding, and calm, his presence alone silenced Daniel. "This is your final warning," Maxim said, his voice like steel. "Any further harassment, any attempt to harm Lena or our family, and the law will hold you accountable. Do you understand me?" Daniel's eyes widened, a flash of fear crossing his face. He nodded reluctantly, knowing he had been completely outmaneuvered. This time, he wasn't leaving with victories, threats, or power. He left defeated, humiliated, and alone. Lena exhaled a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. "It's finally over," she whispered. Ethan pulled her close. "Yes, it is. And it's just the beginning for us." Weeks turned into months. Lena's pregnancy progressed smoothly, each kick and flutter reminding her of the life growing inside her. She reveled in the normalcy that Daniel had denied her for so long. She shopped for tiny clothes, painted the nursery, and planned quietly for the future. Ethan remained her steadfast support, attending appointments, holding her hand during ultrasounds, and celebrating every milestone with an enthusiasm that never faltered. The birth of Noah Vale was a moment of pure triumph. Lena felt a surge of gratitude and love as she held him for the first time, Ethan's hand resting over hers, tears glistening in both their eyes. "Welcome to the world, little one," Lena whispered. "You are our miracle." The media captured the moment, and the public response was overwhelming. People were inspired by Lena's story, not just for the heartbreak she had endured, but for the dignity, resilience, and courage she had displayed. Daniel's name was no longer feared. It was a cautionary tale, a warning to abusers and manipulators everywhere. Lena began to use her platform to advocate for victims of abuse, speaking openly about emotional manipulation, public humiliation, and recovery. She offered hope to countless women who had suffered in silence, and her story became a symbol of triumph over cruelty. One afternoon, as she sat with Ethan and Noah in the garden, Lena reflected on how far she had come. The sun glinted off the leaves, the baby's laughter echoed, and for the first time in years, she felt completely free. She whispered, almost to herself, "I survived. We survived." Ethan kissed her temple. "And together we'll thrive." As she gazed at Noah, a smile spread across her face. "To think he splashed mud on me, thinking it would break me," she said softly. "Little does he know, he only helped me rise." Ethan chuckled. "And now he has nothing. Nothing but regret." Lena nodded. "And that's enough. I have everything I need: love, family, and a future he could never touch." She looked into the distance, thinking of the countless women who might be watching her story unfold. "No one should live in fear of someone else," she said aloud. "And no one should have to believe they are broken because of someone else's cruelty. But if they can survive, they can rise. And so can I." Ethan wrapped his arms around her again. "Subscribe to our journey," he teased softly, "and remember, the best revenge is living well." Lena laughed, a sound full of relief and triumph. She looked at the camera for a brief moment, the recording of this day, this life, and added, "Comment, like, share, because someone needs to know they can rise too." Months passed, and Lena's life settled into a rhythm of joy and quiet triumph. She watched Noah grow, his tiny hands grasping hers, his laughter filling every corner of the Vale estate. Every morning, she felt the miracle of life within her, the proof that Daniel's cruelty had not defined her, had not destroyed her spirit. Daniel, on the other hand, became a ghost of the man he once was. His former employees had abandoned him, contracts dissolved, his social circle evaporated. The viral video remained a permanent mark of his downfall. No amount of pleading, threatening, or scheming could reverse it. Every time he passed a newspaper stand, he saw her smiling face, her name celebrated, and the sting of his failures reminded him of what he had lost. One afternoon, Lena was strolling through the gardens with Ethan and Noah nestled safely in his stroller when her phone buzzed. It was a news alert. Daniel Cross had attempted to make a public statement, claiming he had been misunderstood. Lena smiled faintly and turned to Ethan. "Do you want to see it?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "No," Ethan said firmly, "we've seen enough. Let him stay in the past where he belongs. We have a future to focus on." And that future was radiant. Friends and family celebrated Lena's resilience. She began giving speeches at schools, charities, and online platforms, telling her story not to humiliate Daniel further, but to empower others. "You can survive," she told countless women and men who had been manipulated, abused, or silenced. "You can rise, and you don't have to do it alone." The memory of that muddy parking lot, of Daniel's cruel laughter and Riley's mockery, had lost its power over her. It became a catalyst for change, a reminder that her strength had always been inside her, she just needed to reclaim it. One day, Lena and Ethan hosted a small gathering at Vale Heights, inviting friends and colleagues who had supported her journey. Laughter echoed through the halls, babies played together in the nursery, and the warmth of love and community wrapped around Lena like a protective shield. She looked at Ethan, and he smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You've changed everything," he said softly. "No," she replied, placing her hand over his. "We've changed everything. Together." It wasn't just the luxury or the titles that marked her victory, it was the peace, the dignity, and the life she had fought to reclaim. Lena had once been broken, silenced, and humiliated. Now she was unbreakable, heard, and celebrated. And then came the day Noah took his first steps. Lena's heart soared as she clapped and cheered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Ethan lifted the baby high into the air, laughing, and Lena joined in, the sound of joy echoing through the estate. She whispered softly to herself, from fear to freedom, from mud to triumph. Even Daniel's presence in her life faded completely. The man who had once ruled her world, who had attempted to define her worth through cruelty, was now a cautionary tale, a shadow of a life that could have been. He existed only in her memories, and she had grown beyond him. Months turned into a year, and Lena stood before a crowd at a women's empowerment conference. Cameras flashed. Microphones captured every word. "I know what it's like to feel trapped," she began, voice steady and strong, resonant with experience. "I know what it's like to be humiliated, blamed, and silenced. But I also know this: you can rise. You can survive. You can reclaim your life. And the world will notice your strength." The audience erupted in applause. Phones recorded, social media lit up, and the story of Lena Hartwell Vale spread even further. She smiled, thinking of the journey from the frightened 22-year-old to the mother, advocate, and symbol of resilience she had become. Later that evening, Ethan and Lena sat together on the terrace, the city lights sparkling like stars below. Noah slept peacefully in his crib, unaware of the drama that had once overshadowed his mother's life. Ethan held Lena's hand and whispered, "I think you've become a legend." She shook her head, laughing softly. "No, I've just survived. That's all anyone can do." "But surviving doesn't look like this for most people," Ethan said. "You've shown them what it means to be courageous, to rise, to fight with dignity. You've given hope to countless hearts. That's legendary." Lena leaned against him, watching the night sky. "Do you think he realizes what he's lost?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I think he does. But it doesn't matter anymore. You have everything he could never give you: love, family, respect, happiness. And he has nothing." For Lena, that truth was satisfying but not bitter. She didn't need revenge. Her life, her child, and her love were enough. She had everything Daniel could never take away. And she had reclaimed the power that had once been stolen. The next morning, as she walked through the nursery to check on Noah, Lena noticed the video camera on the shelf. It was recording, documenting her life, her growth, and the hope she wanted to share with the world. She looked into the lens and smiled. To everyone watching, you can survive. You can rise. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well. She pressed a button, and the footage began uploading online. A caption appeared: "From fear to freedom. From mud to triumph. Resilience, hope, rise above." Ethan appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Don't forget to ask them to like, comment, and subscribe," he teased. She laughed, resting her head against his chest. "They'll want to. Everyone needs to know they can rise, just like I did." And so Lena Hartwell Vale's story reached the world not as a tale of abuse, humiliation, or loss, but as a testament to courage, love, and unshakable resilience. Her life had been scarred, but it was no longer defined by pain. She had been a victim once, but now she was a victor. From the puddles in the parking lot to the heights of Vail International, Lena had walked every step with strength, dignity, and grace. And as she watched Noah playing, laughter spilling into the air, she knew the future was theirs untouched by past cruelty, filled with love, hope, and endless possibility. The camera captured the moment, the perfect close to a journey 6 years in the making. Lena whispered, "Never forget, the world can knock you down, but it can't take your spirit. Rise. Always rise." Ethan kissed her forehead. "And we'll rise together." Lena smiled, tears glimmering as the video faded to black. Comment below, like this video, and subscribe to see more stories of triumph, hope, and resilience. Because sometimes, living well is the best revenge.